Okay, hello, good viber. How are you doing today? Well, your girl Esther Joy is coming at you, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about porn. Okay, we're going to be talking about porn, and the reason why we're talking about this is because I've had my fair share. I've noticed that the past energies that have been present. I've shared my sex demons, and I'm not gonna blame the new moon on anything, but I have been feeling and witnessing a heightened sense of sexual energy in the air lately, which is cool. But let's talk about it a little bit, okay? So that's what we're gonna do in today's video. Change this. Let's just talk about it, okay? I want to talk about incubuses, succubuses. I want to cover egg harvesting. I also want to cover during Atlantean times in different areas like Lemuria, and how the sexual energy is used, how entities use it, why it's so important for us to be aware of how we are using it, and tying it back to present day, all of that stuff. So let's just get into it. Okay, first off, I felt like doing my makeup. Next. Okay, so as you know, I've already made a video that I will put somewhere here, a card if you want to watch my sex demons video where I talk about my experiences and what that looks like. Now let's move on. I have realized a lot of things. First off, we all know that we've come here to the earth for a reason, and it's important for us to be aware of that reason. Everything that happens is for a reason. I believe that our lives, God did not just make us for no reason, but we have a purpose, and we agreed to that purpose before we even came here. And now we're here, and here we are. Okay, so when it comes to these different energies, respecting and honoring them is something that I would advise doing. This doesn't mean idolizing them in any way. It just means simply observing them respectfully. Now let's talk a little bit about it. So, you've probably done the wanky spanky. Maybe you jerked off today, yesterday. It doesn't matter, okay? What does matter is, where did that energy go after it was released? Now, as you build up that energy, as the sexual tension, as sexual energy increases, it's important for us to be aware of how we are honing that. Now, I'm aware of the semen retention, no-fap community, and I'm also aware of the tantric, very sensual community. I think that it's important for you to realize that your body is unique, and that what works for one person may not work for you necessarily. So it is so important to know yourself. To know is to deeply connect with understanding of who you are in an intimate way. So know yourself well. So when you watch porn, a lot of the times our brain, we as humans, we're supposed to procreate. That's part of it, having sex, making babies, populating the earth, survival. As we know, we're in an age where we don't really worry about survival as much. You more so worry about how many bars of Wi-Fi you have on your phone. So with that being said, we watch porn because there's a lot of us and we have a lot of time on our hands, so we watch porn. Now, did you know that the first video ever put on the internet was a pornographic video? Fun fact. So that's just how our brains work. That's just how it is. Be 100% honest. There's no reason to be ashamed of just the natural way human brains are made. Now, here's what happened, and this is a tricky part. Porn is a very powerful tool for manipulation, coercion, for really getting people to drop their guards down. So, how can this be used against you? Well, in a lot of ways. First off, we already know that a lot of porn, around like 70% of all the porn on Pornhub, was taken down because it was either illegal or under investigation for suspicious activity, where human trafficking and other illegal conducts were taking place. And this is just a small reflection of the world and how our brain works. It's okay to watch porn, but how do you feel after you watch porn? For most people, they feel like a little part of them has parted ways and they have died a little bit inside. Generally speaking, there's a hole that makes them feel emptier than before. And it isn't really a pleasant feeling, but what it does do is create this vicious cycle where the reward is some pleasurable bliss, but the actions and the habit itself is self-destructive in nature. Did you know that the Australian dung beetle is almost going extinct because it keeps making love with beer bottles? Because the beer bottles apparently are looking real sexy and supernatural or supernormal stimuli. They think that it's a female dung beetle. So they spend all of their life force on mating with a glass bottle and they die. And they're endangered because of this. Well, this is one of the factors that is not helping them and the species. And really reflecting on humans, we're no different. We spend so much time online, and especially since 2020, when things really hit the fan, many people were forced to isolate. The amount of porn usage increased 70%, and that was just in 2020. Now, the impacts that this had, I think we'll see later down in the road, but already people who are preferring to make relations with inanimate objects for fear of rejection is becoming more and more reality. And is that really the world you want to live in? So as we tap more into and explore porn with a more general look in today's video, I'm really just asking you to have an open mind when you are exploring things surrounding porn, your own sexual energy, and how you utilize it. Now, I have done a lot of research surrounding this. Quite literally, I've interviewed over 30 people on their porn usage, from OnlyFans creators to just college dudes that jerk off in the shower every time. There's a lot of in-betweens as well. And what I've learned is that this idea of porn is something that was hidden from us. It's something that we discovered, usually, and had to hide. Even as a child, there was this feeling that, and I remember for myself, realizing everybody had clothes on. Why was no one naked? That was my first thought. My second thought was, where can I find naked people? Probably on the internet. And so I looked up naked people. And then I thought, well, how was I here? Well, I know that mom and dad had sex, so what does that look like? And they're never naked, but how did that happen? And so curiosity, and it grew, until eventually I felt ashamed because nobody else I knew was talking about this, and so I felt the need to hide. And this is something that happens every day. We feel like we have to hide the whole reason that we're here. We know that our parents had sex, and we popped out of that situation. Yet when it comes to actually taking a moment to talk about this act, the sexual recreational act, it becomes blurred, what we can talk about and what we can't talk about. And, I mean, hey, there are boundaries for a reason. Sometimes they're there to protect, sometimes they're there to cover up. So, let's talk a little bit about the entities now. Let's talk about why it's so important to be aware when you are watching porn when you are doing any kind of sexual act, what's going on. So your sexual energy is connected to your sacral chakra. Your sacral chakra is the center of creation force. It is the water element. It is the womb. It is the cosmic egg of creation. This space is where we find our inner child. It thrives. Imagination is something that comes easily, and creative zest for life is everywhere. So our sacral chakra is playing a big role with our sexual connections in terms of how we connect with other people. Our sacral chakra holds this beautiful fluid energy that we can call our creation force energy. This creation force energy is not just for creating humans, but it is for creating all kinds of inventions, from art, music, actual technology, to innovative ideas. We need to use our creative powers in order to create anything. So it isn't weird that those who, generally speaking, come off as very creative also come off as pretty sexual. There is a connection there. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper. As you know, I just shared, this is the nectar of life within this center of our body, our energy body. It's this beautiful, you could say, fountain of youth. So, with this being said, we can now explore a little bit deeper how entities may want to use this energy. So let's start off with Succubi and Incubus. Okay, so both of these are sex demons, and the Succubus is the feminine aspect of the sex demon, and the Incubus is the masculine aspect of the sex demon. Now, and you probably already know, they are a kind of energy vampire. They suck the soul out of you, quite literally. They feed off of your life force when you release it. And this can look like one of two things, or both. For a succubus, this can look like kind of surrendering to your own sexual lusts and desires. No longer thinking about what is good for you and just letting your body do whatever it wants to. Unfortunately, this usually leads to you feeling super drained, dead, and just overall unhappy with life, like something is missing. You feel empty inside because the succubus has quite literally sucked the life out of you. You also feel the need and urge to masturbate probably a lot more than what you may consider normal because, again, the succubus is going to continuously want to feed off of your energy, and you may be extra sensitive to these sexual triggers that cause you to, again, release your life force energy with no intention whatsoever into the abyss where other entities can then feast upon it. Okay, so an incubus is the masculine side, where you may also feel drained. You may feel like self-isolating a lot. This may cause you to just feel really tired all the time and want to masturbate again all the time. When you feel this sudden urge to masturbate, where you feel like you cannot stop, and it's becoming a problem where you are avoiding people or you are no longer taking on outside opportunities so that you can self-isolate and continue in this unhealthy habit, that may be a sign that there are spirits at play. And they want you to keep playing with yourself because, hey, guess who gets that energy at the end of the day? When you release it without any particular intention and just allow it to go up in the air, they do. And it makes them stronger. The more that you could say on the masculine incubus side, you feel weaker, they get stronger. The more you keep going, the less you actually know what you're actually doing. And it becomes a point where you're unconsciously releasing your sexual energy because it just feels like what you should do without really giving it a second thought, and you feel dead and empty inside, where you feel like the only way to feel alive again is if you keep on masturbating. And that, my friend, is a problem and a sign that there are spiritual entities probably playing with you. Okay. So there are other signs, such as waking up in the middle of the night and having these urges. or just suddenly feeling like you have to drop everything you're doing just to go masturbate. Again, these are signs that there are spirits at play and you should be aware. Okay, so yeah, egg harvesting is a part of this. It is really just, again, I talked about the Sacral Chakra. It's the cosmic egg of creation. You have only so much life in you before you die. And as wonderful as it is, some of us can keep going and flowing. These entities are taking this energy, and it does take the form of an egg when it is released, and you don't, again, have any particular intention, but you're just kind of unconsciously just doing whatever your body is craving without having any form of discipline. And yeah, so they'll take the eggs, and you might have a whole bunch of little entity babies floating around, but pay no mind to that, okay? Because honestly, it is what it is. You don't have to go pay child support for all of your alien babies. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I just realized the microphone is here, so hi guys. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about what we should be aware of. There are other entities as well on porn that quite literally possess the souls of those bodies that you are watching. Lust is probably the overall energy you could describe it as, but there are many within the realm of porn. There are lots. The thing is, when you are watching these videos, and if you release watching these videos, paying attention in that space, you are releasing your energy, and you're quite literally yielding it to this entity, which allows it to grow and have more power. And those eggs, they pretty much create little parasites that can continue to grow in your life. So these become physical manifestations of sorts. It might be situations that might not be ideal, okay, depending on who you are. But yeah. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. I hope that helps a little bit. Let's talk about what can help, okay? So you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you can't stop watching porn, and by the way, if you're watching porn, even if you're not releasing, that's, I want to say, even worse, but let me get back on topic for a moment. You can help yourself. First off, you're not alone. Obviously, you're not. You already see how many videos are out there and how many people comment. But most importantly, there are so many people that watch porn and also struggle with this aspect of themselves where they find it difficult to handle. So you're not alone. Don't beat yourself up. Have compassion. So a lot of the times we disassociate from this aspect of ourselves because it's something that is so low. It's something that we find maybe such disgust in or disdain that we'd rather not even keep it in our consciousness. And so a way that entities can get away with this is that they'll wipe your consciousness. They'll wipe certain aspects, certain memories, either spaces of time of what you've done, what you watched, what you felt. They'll wipe these out, and they'll take those energies for themselves. And this is a deal that you make with them because you don't want to acknowledge what you're doing. So first you have to acknowledge what you're doing. As bad as it is, if you never acknowledge, that means fully take time to be aware of what has and is happening with your sexual energy, then you will find it very difficult to do the next steps. We need to practice compassion. You need to forgive yourself for what you feel like you've done that may be unforgivable. Ask for forgiveness if it is required to make you feel at peace, but you must find the compassion within yourself to be aware of just how and what you've done, okay? So take that time to have compassion. what happens? Well, the lower entities, the demonic entities, cannot feed off of you if you have compassion. It acts as a shield that stops them. If you have disgust, then they'll feed off of the disgust. If you have anger, they'll feed off the anger. They'll amplify it. So when you have compassion, it is a way to neutralize any past energies, even of the lowest nature, so that you can come back more in a place of balance and peace. So have compassion with yourself. Now, it's really difficult to break any kind of habit straight off the bat, and that's why it's so important to have compassion. Once you're aware of your habits, it's time to direct your attention to your triggers. What kind of triggers surround you? Is it a certain place? Is it a certain time? Is it a certain thing? What is it that triggers you? Is it a certain phrase? Being aware of these things, these triggers, these sexual triggers that get you going, that really turn you on without you even being conscious of them most of the time until you realize what you've done or until you've already released your energy, is so important. That's really where the entities are, you could say, lurking right behind that trigger to really hop into your being so that they can finish the act. So being aware of what your triggers are really important so that, again, you can practice compassion, and this will cause you to have more of an observational look at your life and the situations that surround you instead of being discouraged by what might happen. So yeah, it's important to, again, practice compassion. Also, remember your inner child. So a lot of distortions happen and perversions happen when we watch a lot of porn. I don't need to go too deep into it. I think you get what I'm saying here. But in fact, sex and intimacy and sexual things, technically, they aren't impure. They're actually a really pure form of innocence that we've tainted because of, society, taboo nature. And again, the demons can feed off of this lower vibrations of shame where you feel like you can't express yourself or be vulnerable with others in any way, so you turn to that inanimate object or video. So have compassion with yourself, be aware of your triggers, and let's move on to observing what you actually do. When you are observing what you do, this is called a task walkthrough. You're quite literally going to observe yourself from the trigger to the end and take note of your emotions before, during, and after this experience. So this literally means when you have that trigger, you don't immediately have to stop yourself just yet if you feel like you're too weak to do it, pretty much. You can allow yourself to just observe how you feel before that trigger, or right when that trigger hit, during the act of either watching porn or masturbating or whatever other sexual acts you do to release energy, and after. How did you feel after? Now, you'll know that it is a bad entity if you feel like your soul is leaving your body and a part of you has died and you feel really tired and exhausted, then bad sign. Even some entities can make you feel really good afterwards, but be aware and practice discernment. Again, have compassion and just observe. After observing for a while, you'll really start to notice your triggers, and you'll also know your different moods. What I found after a while is that I felt horrible afterwards, so I programmed my mind to, when I saw that trigger, to skip all the way forward to the end of how I felt after what I did after I saw that trigger. So I skipped the before and the during. I just skipped the during altogether, and I just went to the end of how I felt. And it sucked. Quite literally, it didn't feel good. And because of that, I eventually associated those sexual triggers with this feeling of feeling drained, and it caused me to avoid doing the actions that I once did. It really did help me. Hopefully it will help you as well. If you're interested in learning more about this, and you just want help with maybe reframing your energy, taking home control of your sexual energy, because trust me, my friend, it's not meant to all be spent watching videos in your room alone, then you feel sad. It's meant to be used to create a beautiful life for yourself, amazing creations, and a great family. these are what this is what your energy is for. And the more we can focus on that, the more you'll see it grow in all aspects of your life. If you want help, I am opening a wonderful porn reprogramming mini course workshop. It's going to be really fun, and I am looking forward to tapping more into this for 3 weeks of just packed information to reprogram, clear, purify, and set ourselves up so that we're using our sexual energy in the best way possible. If you're interested, there'll be more information down in the description below. But without further ado, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really do hope that you found it useful. And, yeah, peace. Namaste. God bless.